Bole Baba Ki Jai. Welcome to today's Satsang at the Haidakhandi Universal Ashram. And I'm here with Arnie Lade, right? I never know if I pronounce it right.
That's good.
And he's from British Columbia, Canada, Victoria area. And the special treat for me is that he was with me in Haidakhandi in 1982 with Babaji, and that was a tremendous treat to hear from him. And it's been 40 years, so it's our 40-year anniversary from when the last time we were physically with Babaji. And so he made this pilgrimage all the way out here to celebrate it. So as we started sharing stories the other day, I just thought this would be beautiful for other people to hear. So I'm going to put it right in your lap to tell us how did this happen?
Yeah, that's first of all, I want to say I'm really touched with RT tonight and just doing the fire ceremony and everything today. It's kind of a moving experience. It's almost like 40 years exactly. I don't know, I can't remember the exact date, but almost precisely. And I really wanted to do this. It was a big heart's desire to come here. To connect with the energy of Babaji, and every time around somebody that's been with Babaji, there's an instant recognition. I don't know how it happens. It's only two other people that I've met, like where I knew exactly that they were with Babaji before they said anything. And it's sort of some connection, or people that are close to Babaji. So for me, my story is that back in 1970, I would say 78, 79, I went to massage school and I got interested in healing. I did a lot of different healing practices, and somewhere along the line I got interested in homeopathy. And I asked a friend who had been a sadhu in India. He was an American but lived 4 years as a sadhu. And I said, because India was the hotbed of homeopathy in those days. And I asked him, do you know anybody that does homeopathy in India? And he thought about it for a moment, and he said, oh yeah, I have a friend in Almora, India. And she had 2 sons, and they both became homeopaths. And his friend, Tom's friend, was a European that lived there. And I believe we recognized her name was Tara Devi.
We think it was Tara Devi.
Yes, and I think Raghavir said the same to me.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I remember that now. But I didn't know her that name. And so I wrote her a letter. Tom gave me the letter, the address to write. And I wrote her, and on the return letter, I read the letter, and at the bottom of the letter was a flower. And she said, Babaji came into the room and drew this for you. And at the time, at that moment, I was thinking, because I was actually kind of, I was spiritual right from when I was very young, kind of questioning. I had some experiences, and it just started me on a search when I was about 17, 18. And actually at that moment when I received that letter, I was I'd been with Roshis, gurus, and all sorts of spiritual paths, searching, lamas too. And I was a little bit burnt out, and I was like, I just put down the letter, and it says, I didn't, quite need it at that moment. I didn't know who this person was. I had no idea.
You had no idea who Babaji was?
No,
Gotcha.
She didn't explain anything, nothing. Just that, he came into the room and drew this for you, okay. So I put that down, and then, a couple of years later, I had found acupuncture. I was working in a clinic with some acupuncturists, and my interest turned very suddenly to acupuncture. And I went to, with my friend, to China in 1982 through the World Health Organization to study acupuncture. But I knew that I was going to do some travels in Asia afterwards, and I kept in touch with this lady in Almora. And I wrote her my last letter before leaving China, saying, you know, there was no email in those days, and letters took a long time. And I knew that I wasn't going to get a reply by the time. And I said, well, I will be at your place in such a you know, a time, relative, the 2 weeks, you know, kind of thing. And on the way to India, I was climbing a mountain in China with actually an Indian friend, a doctor, who saved my life because I got a blood infection, just a part of the story, a blood infection through a skin lesion. And I got very sick in China. Anyways, I thought I recovered enough, carried on the journey after a few weeks, and finally got to India after some other stops. And I had a feeling I should go right to her place. You know, it was kind of weird because I could have gone anywhere, but I had this feeling I should go right to this lady's house, and she lived in a hill station. It was near, I didn't know Babaji's place, and he'd been there many times. So I went right to her place and knocked on her door, and her husband comes out, and you know, he says, "What would you like?" And I said, "I'm here to see." I called her Mary Oplinger. I think that could be her English name. And she was, I didn't know how old she was. And he said, she died a month ago, a month before, of a heat stroke in Rajasthan. And she was 80 years old. So there I was, you know, like, so I sat with the husband and talked to him, you know, obviously he was grieving and everything. But then as our conversation turned, he said, maybe you should go see her guru. Maybe there's a reason why you are here, you know. And I thought, wow. And he explained to me how to get there, and it was kind of intriguing how to get there. You had to walk, I can't remember what it was. It seemed like 4 or 6 hours through the jungle. You needed a guide, and you needed to go to a certain place in Haldwani to a hotel, and he's going to arrange you know, somebody to walk you through the jungle, because it was rainy season, you couldn't go along the river, and you definitely needed a guide to go there. But it sounded like an adventure, and I was kind of up for an adventure. So I got to the hotel, and the owner in
Kailash View Hotel.
Yes,
Where
and
we all
Haldwani.
stayed at.
You're right. And he sat me down. Didn't seem like there was one other person there, but I never even talked to him that night. But the owner came and talked to me and started telling me all these stories about Babaji. And I got kind of interested. And he told me how he met Babaji, how he was called by his guru to go see her. You know, he said, Babaji's back and you have to go see him. He told me this really fascinating story, so it kind of intrigued me. So I was up for this adventure. Yes, I'll go through the jungle, and, you know, and it was quite a walk, and I remember the monkeys and everything, you know, and walking up there. And then we came to, finally, to the ashram, and, you know, the stairs. I got to the stairs, and I was thinking, you know, like, didn't have much thought at that point. I thought, you know, maybe eventually I'll meet the guru, right? But he was right there at the top of the stairs, like almost like he was waiting for us, you know, like it was like, and I kind of knew the Indian protocol a little bit from being around other teachers, and I had that didn't bother me at all, like, you know, pranam and touch his feet, you know, and I knew that was in my sort of little bit of understanding of protocol. I knew that you're supposed to give a gift when you see her. So the only thing that I had was this, you know, that I thought of any words was these, you know, solar calculators had just come out, and I bought a whole bunch of them, like quite cute ones, you know, really, you know, like good ones in Hong Kong. So I give him the solar calculator, and he started laughing like crazy. You know, thinking like this is a riot, like, you know, he's laughing away, and he finally says, you know, and he gives it to
Muniraj.
Muniraj, right?
Muniraj.
He gives it to him, and he says, "What do you think I'm gonna do?" You know, somebody translates. What do you think I'm gonna do? Count all my money with it? You know, I was like, kind of, oh, like embarrassed. You know, like, oh my God, you know. Like, here I am thinking, I'm glad I made him laugh at that moment, but it was a little bit embarrassing. You know, like, no, whatever. And but he, you know, let me stay, and somewhere along the line, I'll just share a few stories about being there. He had heard that I had studied acupuncture. I was doing acupuncture. And when I got there, again, I had this, you know, phenomenon with this blood infection that I got sick again with a higher altitude. So somehow, that was the first time it happened. It happened again a little bit later at a different place, but the blood infection kind of reactivated in my body, so I was starting to get sick. But in the meantime, somebody had told him that I did acupuncture. I didn't tell him directly. And then he wanted me to go to Rajasthan to treat some of his disciples. I don't know who. And I said, you know, I don't think I could do that. I only have a short time here. You know, I came here to be with you. And apparently, I never heard this. He never got mad at me, but I heard that he was annoyed by that statement. He's like, oh, he's not doing what I want, you know, kind of thing. And I thought, oh, you know, and that came back to me. But, so I thought, you know, like, was he mad at me or not? But I remember, like, the very next arti that we did in the hall in front of me, I had this, everybody did a line to get his darshan and pranam to him. And I did, you know, I went through the line, and he just put his hands on me, and it was like, all okay, you could stay. You know, it was like, you know, there's no words that needed to be said. It was just like, it's okay, you're here, you know. And I felt like at peace with that. Like, I didn't feel like, okay, I should leave or anything. He didn't ask me. And he never asked me anything to do. And he knew, I guess he knew that I was sick. I wasn't feeling so well. So I didn't get up so early or do a lot of the other things with them. But I, you know, occasionally I would start doing some things, like I think I helped out in the yard one day, and, you know, we were moving bricks. And, you know, it was a lovely moment where he bought everybody chai. And I remember him giving me the chai. And it was such a beautiful experience of just receiving the chai from, and, you know, and he made sure that he bought it for everybody. I remember that part with the Indian man, like, you know, and that was a very sweet experience. And I had a number of other experiences with them. One of them was, which is very personal, and I, you know, it's really can't go into all the details of this, but it was very, very personal. He asked me to go buy him some mangoes, and I was the only person around. He just gave me some money and told me to go down to the shop and buy him some mangoes. So I brought up all these mangoes, and, you know, I was going to give it to him, right? And he said, "Come on into this room," you know, and then grabbed Shastraji. And the three of us got into this room, and he asked Shastraji to read my palm and tell me about our past connection together. And he did, and then he talked about a number of other things. And the funny thing was, I remember at one point in this conversation, and Shastraji was doing a lot of talking, and Babaji was asking him questions in Hindi, and I couldn't understand his questions, but then he would say something, Shastraji would say something in English to me, and we'd have this communication. And somewhere along the line, I asked him, you know, or maybe he asked, do I have any questions? And I asked him, was I going to be with my girlfriend? I had a girlfriend at the time that I really crush on. And here I was, you know, months away in Asia, and I, you know, having this, really attachment to, and he said no. And I got really annoyed with him. I said, what? No. And he said, no. You're going to meet somebody else. And he told, and I didn't recognize it till after this happened, but he just perfectly described how I was going to meet my wife and that I was going to have 2 more children. And that all came true. And, it was like one of those things that, you look back at, because I remember having this strong reaction to the statement, and he was right. And I think all the things that, came of it was probably going to be true, or some of it hasn't happened yet. Anyways, so a few days, I was only there for 2 weeks, but it was really a momentous point in my life, I must say. And I did have a chance to take some pictures and hang around with Babaji, and it's really quite interesting that I have this photo of Babaji that I took, and I've always had it ever when I got it made. It's one of those things I've always kept on my altar. This picture where he's looking directly at me, and just like looking into my eyes. And at the time, like I said, I had a lot of different, teachers, and I was quite confused, a little bit sick, all this stuff. And my main intention, I remember going there, was that I wanted to be accepted and loved. And he completely accepted and loved me. It's emotional to say that.
You were only 28 too, so we can all remember when we were 28.
Yeah.
I was 32, so I was a bit older, but not any wiser. Are you okay? Do you need some water or anything like that?
I'm okay.
Okay.
I think. And that was really a touching moment, that recognition, and kind of wanted, like, I didn't want a guru or anything like that. Just wanted someone to be like a friend almost, right? And he kind of reacted that way with me, just like giving me that kind of love and affection without any kind of demands or anything like that, And then I had an experience. It was everybody was going to walk out with Babaji. Maybe I'll talk about that. And he was going to some village. I'm not sure where he was going that time, but there was a whole procession where he was leaving the ashram at Haidakhandi and going to a different place. And we all had to, well, not all of us, actually, not all the people went, but a number of people went. And I was supposed to go with them, and there was a part, I was really struggling that day. I was kind of like, why am I here? And everything is like crazy, this is all, just a negative space. And we came to this one part where we had to cross a river, and there was I remember like a hand tram that you had to kind of move like this.
People
right?
were like,
Yeah.
because I was with them. He took pictures, so.
Yeah, and there was, I think only 2 or 3 people could go in at one time in one of those contraptions across
This raging river underneath, monsoon season.
So,
And these people, I always looked at the ropes because they're like,
it's kind of
really
sketchy.
it was a long distance. Go ahead. Sketchy is a good word.
Yes, very sketchy. But I felt okay, because Babaji said, like to come in with him, and there's some Indian man, and the Indian man was doing the thing to get across, sitting in this, obviously Babaji recognized my kind of state. So we got to the other side, and he sat on a rock, and the Indian man had I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, he had a pen in his hand, and he pulled out this, Babaji grabbed his pen, and the other guy went and started helping people cross, from getting off this device. So there was a long time there, and Babaji started drawing something on his hand, kind of like this, you know, and just kind of chatting with if somebody came up, then he'd go back to drawing. And then by that time, most people were over already. And then he got up suddenly and went like this, right into my face, like, you know, like this, you know, really close. And it was the same flower that he drew in that letter, you know, 1979. And he grabbed my arm, you know, just like this, and we started walking. And I don't know how we walked, what the rest of the day was like. I have no memory of anything after that. We just walked for like, I don't know, I have no idea how many kilometers there was, or
How many lifetimes it
how many
was.
lifetimes it was. So, yeah, it was probably, you know, it was like some kind of transfer. You know, it just brought me into, you know, some kind of place that was where everything was okay. But there was you know, no time, no space. And the other thing that was curious too, I do have a memory of it, is of being totally weightless. There was no effort, absolutely no effort. And his body had no effort. It was like an effortless movement. And that was a remarkable thing too, because I felt pretty heavy and kind of sluggish in my state. And all of a sudden, all of that disappeared, and it was like a different state, totally.
So when you were with Sastraji and Babaji, you said Sastraji did palm. Did you have a past life connection with Baba then, or?
He mentioned that. I don't know. I have no memory of it, but
okay.
What Shastraji said, and there was a lot of talking that I don't understand. I don't understand Hindi, but he just said that there was a connection, that we had lived 3 times in Tibet together with Babaji, and that I would see Babaji 3 times in this lifetime. Maybe I could share this too. You know, after going out, I left Babaji's company, and a couple of years, so that was 82, a couple of years later, I had this series of dreams for about 3 nights that were very intense, where Babaji came every night, and like, it was more like teaching instructions, like talking to me, like, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and okay, and then they disappeared. It was like very unusual for me. I never had a dreams like Babaji like that, and it was like very, like, you know, 3 days in a row, and then nothing. Okay, and totally unexpected. And then months later, 2 months later, I'd heard from somebody that was involved in the rebirthing world that came up to me and said, "You know, Babaji passed away." And I knew, you know, he told me the date, and I knew it was exactly when I was having those 3 nights, of his darshan. So there's a connection.
And you said you were also planning to go back to see Babaji that year too.
Yeah,
with your wife.
With my wife, that was predicted. And I was going to study again in China, and I had the plan of going back to India. And I did go, you know, it did happen going to China, but of course Babaji has Mahasamadhi in 84, so never got to go back to see him. Yeah. But he's always, I think, been there in my life, you know, like that. And my life has lots of ups and downs, like, you know, all the joys and tribulations of having family, you know, all my confusions and misunderstandings and dilemmas. But Babaji's been there through all of that, I must say. And as I age, it grows stronger.
Have you been back to Haidakhandi since?
No. Maybe something like, thinking about it and recognizing the place. I've thought about it, but no, there's been a call to come here, but not to India. Yeah. That's interesting, eh? And also, I would say that I know Haidakhandi inside. Haidakhandi Baba is inside. There isn't one place. And yet he's everywhere. It's kind of, there's no one place, but he's everywhere, and he's inside.
People ask me about what it was like to be with Babaji. I often say it was like living in a greenhouse with him. I just love, and he saw me, and I believe everybody else in their fullness. Like him serving you tea, he also served me and my children and I, some kind of a fruit drink when we first arrived with this, poured it, mixed it, and poured it, and handed it. And my first thought is, he must have us confused with somebody important. But it was through these different satsangs we've done online and talking to devotees like you and other people who had these experiences, I realized that, what I said is very true about the greenhouse and him seeing you not in a box as, this is Elizabeth right now, and she's got blonde hair and she's this and that, very pretty, and he just saw you in your fullness.
Yeah.
And what I came to understand in all your lifetimes and your lifetimes to come. And so, of course, he just loved you as you were in that fullness and love. And it's amazing. And so I felt like in that greenhouse, the ability to grow is phenomenal when I'm with Baba in my heart all the time. It is. When I forget that, think he's over in Haidakhandi or someplace like that, then I step out of the greenhouse.
He kind of conveyed that to everybody, and I just had a memory last night of taking the bus to there was a dam from
Dam site was where they had that little tram.
Yeah.
And that's,
or I can't remember where the walk started. I can't remember anyways exactly, but on this local bus, and some Indian, somebody asked me, like, where are you going? What's, I said, Haidakhandi Babaji. And all of a sudden, all these people around me, these simple people, were starting giving me fruit. Can you take this to him? And all of a sudden, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't want to carry all this stuff, but I couldn't refuse, So I had this whole pile of things that I was supposed to take from just simple people that, as soon as they really, he touched a lot of people. You could tell just by their excitement.
it was so beautiful to see him with the villagers.
Yeah. Wow.
And you folks have met some in Kathgadam and different Kathgaria, just how simple. And they would come with their pots and pans and play music. It's like, but the love, it didn't matter if it was the simple villager who had nothing, or Shami Kapoor, who was a famous movie star. It's just that love.
Yeah, you radiated.
Anybody have questions or?
Just thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah. I haven't shared that with many people. A number, but not too many. So it's a blessing to be able to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and the beauty, I think, is also that we just realize that Baba is right here with us all the time. too as well. Sometimes it seems far away, and when I get into the worldly world, it seems like,
Yeah, and it doesn't matter like some people obviously have the blessing to have been with him longer, and some people shorter like myself, and some people not at all, but are connected to him like in a profound way. And he's always here. That's the thing. He's the ground of being, the ground of love.
He has a way of getting your attention,
Yeah.
very much so.
yeah, and I've often felt that for the people who didn't actually meet him in physical body, I hear so many dreams and stories and meditations with him in it and guidance that sometimes it's almost maybe easier because I had the attachment to the physical form. So sometimes I'm not as able to see the form everywhere. So it's true, everybody.
Yeah, and he was also, you got that, I had the sense that too, that, you know, he was like a fire. If you got a little bit too close, you know, be prepared to, you know, have your ego be burned quickly. And maybe he knew mine was too fragile to have around.
He was just
that
gentle
long.
with you.
He was very gentle with me, extremely.
Yeah. Like Steve said, whatever was needed.
Whatever was needed.
Sometimes I definitely needed the stick whacked, you know, over the head or whatever it is, and that's true today. I hear that spiritual intuition. Oh well, I'm too busy, whatever, until finally it's like whack.
Yeah.
He loved us so much. He loves us so much. He'll do anything to help us on our path. That's how I feel.
Did you know that this ashram was happening, you know, in the beginning stages, or was it
No.
years later that you?
Years later, yeah, I was kind of disconnected, I guess, from it. And plus I was living for a while in South America. So I was really felt like, you know, North America, India, everything was far away. So I didn't really hear about it till maybe 15 years ago. Something like that. Whenever I sent you those photographs. As soon as I found out, I sent a number of photographs that I had taken, and there was you and your children there.
And they were in the photographs. I mean, I was shocked.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, really? Really treasures. It's such a small world.
Yeah. Yeah, for a long time it was just like a personal experience, and, you know, something that was hard to even talk about or relate to with other people. But so it was wonderful to hear that, you know, I knew that there was other people, but like I had just come across, you know, on my own, Babaji. It seemed like there was no other than that letter.
Do you still have the letter with the
No,
picture
you know,
on it?
I have no idea what happened to that letter. You know, it was because I moved so many times, and probably when I went to China, no, I don't.
It's such a great story. I love reading the different stories about Babaji, how these kind of things happened, you know. I was saying that if you could go see Mooni Raj, she'd probably still have that calculator. What do you think I am, counting my money?
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay. Well, thank you, Arnie. The real treasure.
Yeah, my honor.
And he's a doctor of acupuncture and medicine and all these different modalities. So he came at the right time for me because he's helping me with my blood pressure issue that's going on. So Baba's always taking care of us. And that's what I hear all the time when I look at Baba's picture. I have one like this in my room. It's like and I can get wigged out over too much to do or my health or everything. You know, you look anywhere in the world, for me, I'm able to get pretty discombobulated. But I always hear him say, I've got you, I'll take care of it. And there's so many instances where that has happened over and over again, yet me, oh ye of little trust is me. And it takes, yeah, so it's a real blessing that you're here, so thank you.
Thanks for, feel so welcoming, like being home.
Yeah, it's your home. It's your home in the U.S. Bole Baba Ki.
Jai.
Yeah, Baba said, to my devotees I give Abhaya Dan, the boon by which you will always be